accompanied by some sort of evidence.
Yeah, but what do you think evidence is if not an inference?
What I think evidence is, if not an inference,
Yeah.
something that lends credence to a claim. So I can say, for
Yeah,
example,
but
apples are better than cats, or not apples. Apples are better than
no, I don't
oranges.
want, I don't want, I don't want examples. I don't want examples. I want
I
definitions. What
just
do you
told you
think?
the reason, right? I was going to give you an
What do you
example
think
to help you
lending? What do you
understand.
think? No. You just said evidence is lending credence. What do you think lending credence is other than an inference?
To make a conclusion more likely, or to justify a
Yeah, but
conclusion.
likelihood is an inferential relationship. When you talk about probability, raising or lowering probability is going to be inferential.
I don't know what you mean by inferential here, right?
You don't know what an inference is.
No, I know what an inference is. I just don't know what you mean by inferential in this context.
You don't know what it means for probability raising to be inferential.
No, okay. I just said I don't know what you mean by inferential in this context. Let me tell you something, okay, Venus. Do you
I
think
don't
that
know.
the only
Why
way?
do you
Hold on,
think?
wait, hold on, Venus, because
Oh,
I want to get something out quickly, right? Do you
uh-huh.
think that the only way in which one can present an argument, right, in any situation, is through a set of premises that lead to a conclusion with an inference rule that is stated explicitly there? Or can you present arguments without doing this whole process of giving out like a P1, P2 conclusion,
Yeah, you can
P3,
present an
P4 conclusion?
argument through natural. You can present an argument through natural language. You
Yeah.
can present an argument ambiguously. You can present an argument clearly. But what happened was in this dialectic so far, you've just been giving vaguely. You couldn't reproduce the Aristotelian argument, which I said fine. And then I gave you the issue that I'm going to have with it. And then you said, well, I can justify the PSR. And then you gave an example. And by which I said, well, initially it sounded like you were actually negating the PSR because you said no reason. You said, no. You didn't understand my analogy fully. And then you repeated the analogy. And I said, well, it sounded like the explanation is going to be that they weigh the same because you said they're going to be the same in every respect. They can be categorically the same. And then you said, yeah, but you still haven't fully. And I said, well, here's the issue, right? Because I can believe most things have explanations. I can believe most things that human beings investigate have explanations. That's not going to entail that I assume any form of the PSR.
No,
So
you're
what's
not
the
okay.
argument?
So
Right.
that's why I'm trying to cut you off on, right? You're not understanding. So Michael the Rocker is not saying we accept the
No, but
PSR
if
in
you're
some
going to
instances and
say,
not others.
look, no,
Wait, hold
this
on,
is
wait. Let me just get this
uh-huh.
out, right? What I'm saying is you accept explicability arguments in some cases. So you accept arguments that function somewhat like this. There can be no reason given for why X over Y, therefore X is not over Y. Right? You accept these arguments in some cases, but not others. Therefore, there must be a distinction between case 1 and case 2, where you accept the argument and you do not accept the argument. But if this distinction is not grounded, if it's arbitrary, then you beg the question in favor of the PSR. That's the argument Michael DeRocca gives in his paper.
No, so I mean, I don't mind investigating that, but let's just dig that. But what I was gonna say was, if we keep, you don't have to give an argument formally, whether it's like deductive, abductive, inductive, likelihood is Bayesian or anyway. But if we keep falling to this trap, we're saying, I don't understand what you mean. I don't understand what you mean. I'm going to ask you to formalize it because in that case, I don't think you giving it informally is taking the dialectic very far. But I'm gonna give you a couple of chances. What was the thing you just said now?
Okay, so Michael DeRocca, are you listening, by the way? Just to be clear.
I'm listening. Yeah.
Okay,
Speak
yes.
slowly.
In some cases, right, we accept explicability arguments. There are
What's
three
an
that Michael.
explicability argument?
An argument that says something along the lines of there can be no reason given for why, I don't know, something should exist rather than not exist. Therefore, this something does not exist. So, for example, in the case of the equal weight
Wait, who
example,
accepts this kind of arguments?
what'd you say?
Who accepts this kind of arguments?
People like you.
I don't accept this kind of arguments. Who accepts
I'll
this
just
kind
send
of
you a screenshot
arguments?
from his paper. Hold on, give me a sec.
No,
I
no,
just
you
want
just said people. You just said people accept the.
yeah,
Who are
yeah.
these people? Unless you accept the PSR, why would you accept this kind of argument?
Wait, hold on. I'm sending you the paper. So one of the
No, but
instances was like, wait,
you just
hold
made up.
on.
No,
I'm saying you.
but
Wait. I'm saying
hold
you
on, no,
accepted it in this
I'm
conversation.
talking. I'm in the middle.
You
I'm in the
accepted
middle
it
of a
in the
sentence.
conversation. You accepted it in the conversation
I
just
didn't
now.
accept. I didn't accept it in any
Okay. So
conversation.
if you didn't accept it, let's just go back. Let's rewind and let's talk about the Archimedean scenario again. So in the
I didn't.
Archimedean scenario, right? He says, what's it called? If there is a balance in which everything is alike on both sides, and if equal weights are hung on the two ends of that balance, the whole be at rest. That is because no reason can be given why one side should weigh down rather than the other. Right? That's the type of arguments we're talking about. Do you accept
No,
this
but
type
what
of argument?
the case you're giving, aren't the two objects the same? Aren't they qualitatively identical?
Okay.
Yeah, so if they're qualitatively identical, they weigh the same. And if they weigh the same, then the balance is going to be in equilibrium. That's the
Yeah, why?
explanation.
Why?
Because they're the same weight. That's how weight works.
Yeah, wait. Okay, so you're just repeating it. So obviously we've both concluded that they're the same weight, right? You're saying if they're the same weight, then the balances are going to be in equilibrium. And I'm asking you
That's how
why.
weight.
My reason,
Hold on.
hold on. My reason is because there can be no reason given for why one side should hang lower than the other side.
No,
You
no, no,
are
no,
failing
no.
to
That's
give me a
going to be
question begging reason.
explained. No, that's going to explain in how weights work. Look, in balances, if you go to like the meat store or something, if they're trying to weigh how much meat we picked out, they're gonna take like a weight 1 kilogram, and they're gonna pick meat and they're gonna weigh them together. If the meat and the weigh the same thing, the weigh is gonna be in equilibrium. That's going to do with the mechanism of how the weigh work. If you want like a further explanation, you're gonna have to talk to some engineer who can explain to you how the weigh machine works. But
Okay,
there is
so
going to be an explanation why it's in equilibrium. It's not going to be. It's not going to be because it's not going to lack an explanation. There's going to be an explanation in terms of how mass works, in terms of how the machine works, and so on. Now, what I said was, you don't need to assume a PSR to even believe that most things have explanations, or that if you look for explanations in a certain domain, you're going to most likely find explanations. So you're not
yeah.
using the PSR in any regard and then saying, well, I'm going to use the PSR here, but I'm going to disregard it here, but I don't have like some kind of a principled reason to discriminate between my usage here and my this usage here.
Okay, so aside from the fact that you were just being viciously circular in your explanation for the weights, if you already agree that you
Wait,
accept
how
it,
am I? How is it viciously circular? You're saying
yeah. So
why?
I'm
Why
asking
is the
for.
weight in
Oh my word.
equilibrium? I'm saying because the mass of the two objects is the same.
Yeah,
If you
yeah, yeah.
say
So the mass. Okay,
how
what
is
I'm
that? How
putting
is
into
that circular?
question, Venus. What I'm putting into question is why the mass of, because we already concluded, we both agreed that the mass of the two objects are the same. Now, what I'm asking you is why does the mass of the two objects being the same mean that the scale will be in equilibrium? Now, the reason I gave is going to be something separate from the conclusion. That being that the reason is because there can be no reason given for why
No,
one
no, this
side
is
should weigh
no,
more than the
this
other.
is silly.
Now,
No, no,
your
no. This is
reasoning has to be something
look.
separate from the conclusion. What's the reason you're giving, Venus?
No, no, no. This is silly. Look, if you weigh yourself on like a scale, it's going to give you like a number, like 70 kilograms. If you ask why is the scale showing 70, I would say because your mass is 70 kilograms. It's not going to be circular. If you want to ask further, why is it the case because your mass is 70 that the scale shows 70? You're asking a question about how the mechanism of the scale works, and there's going to be a deeper mechanistic explanation of that. Likewise, if you're using a scale that's like weighing two things, and if they weigh the same, the scale is going to put them in equilibrium because that's how the scale works. The scale is trying to weigh things, and it's gonna weigh down the things that has the largest mass. And if they have the equimass, it's gonna put them at an equilibrium. If you want to ask further, why does the scale put things that weigh this have the same mass in equilibrium? You're going to be asking about some kind of a mechanistic explanation of how the scale works. That's going
Okay,
to
so.
require the same kind of mechanistic explanation as to
Mhm,
when you're asking me, why does the scale show 70 when I weigh 70 kilograms?
mhm.
That's going to have
So
some kind of mechanistic explanation of how the scale works, whether it's like
yes,
digital
so the
or
issue is I'm not
manual.
disagreeing with you, right? So obviously I agree with everything you just said, blah 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 blah. However, you're just wrong, right? Your explanation isn't incompatible with my explanation at all. So what I'm saying is that since they're equal, right? Since they weigh the same, there can be no reason given, right, for why one should hang lower than the other, right? That's what I'm saying,
Wait,
and
well,
there's
one
no
doesn't
issue.
flow. They're in equilibrium. One doesn't
Wait, okay,
weigh.
that's precise. Okay, so you're not disagreeing. So, anyways, we can just move
But
on
they're
then.
in
So if you
equilibrium
agree,
because
hold
the
on, Venus. So if
way
you agree, hold on. So if you agree, then that you can accept explicability arguments in some cases, or not
it's
even
not an
explicability arguments.
I'm not
Wait,
accepting.
hold on. Wait, let me finish.
I'm
Let
not
me finish.
accepting an
No, wait. Let me
equilibrium.
finish. Let me just finish. Okay.
Uh-huh.
So if you agree that you can accept the PSR in some case, that's what you said, right? You said I
I'm
can
not
accept the PSR.
accepting the
Hold on.
PSR.
Wait. Hold on. This is what you said. If you want to backtrack again, that's fine. But what you said was I can accept the PSR in some cases and
I
not
never said
others.
I can accept
Wait,
the
hold on.
PSR in any
Wait.
case.
The example,
I
the
never said
example
I
you
can
gave.
accept the PSR in any case.
Hold on. Let's not spell, okay? Let's have a
I
discussion.
never
Let's not
said I
shout
can
over each
accept the
other.
PSR in any case.
Okay,
One second.
wait.
Wait.
Hold on,
I
wait.
never
Let me just
said.
talk. Let me just finish.
Hold on.
Let me just finish.
Wait, let it be
What you
one at a
told
time.
me, what you
One at a time.
told me, okay? What you told me explicitly. This is the whole point of the Mexico example, by the way. You said, "Oh, I can go to Mexico and I can assume there's going to be gold there." Blah blah blah. The whole point was that, okay? You said in some cases you can accept the PSR,
I
and in
never
other
said that. No, no,
cases,
no.
okay,
That's why
okay,
you
I'll give you the
misunderstood.
chance. Let me
I
finish
never said.
talking.
I
Let
never
me finish
said.
talking. Venus, this is the
I
issue.
never
You're not
said.
letting me finish talking, okay?
Hold
Let
on.
me
No, no,
finish
no. I'm
talking and
not
I'll let you
letting you
talk.
finish
Let
because
me
you
finish talking and I'll let you
misquoted me.
talk. Let's go
No, no,
part
no,
four.
no, no. I'm gonna. I'm
Let's
gonna
see if
look.
Lala can finish talking, okay? Okay, I'm gonna say this again.
Okay, go ahead.
You said, okay, this is what you said. I can accept these arguments in some cases. It does
I
not
never said
follow,
that either.
therefore. Okay. Hello?
Look, do you want
Part
do
five?
you want me to? No, no. Look, I never said any of this. What I said
Okay, okay.
is
Wait.
I
Let
can.
me just get my notepad. I'm gonna write down what you say with pencil and paper, like an
My
old-fashioned Brit.
God.
Okay, go ahead and speak.
Yeah. What I said is I can accept that some things have explanation, other things don't have explanation. I never said I can accept the PSR or explicability arguments or anything like that. I said I can accept most things have explanations without accepting the PSR. I never said I accept the PSR or explicability arguments. Now, did you get that?
Okay, so you're saying in some cases things can have an explanation, and in other cases things can't have an explanation.
Yeah, if the PSR is false, that's correct. Yeah.
Okay, so then if we're talking about, say, like something that does not have an explanation, can we just categorize this as X? Is that fine?
Yeah, sure. Now,
Okay, and
you want me
an
to explain the
explanation.
scale case?
Uh, yeah. So I said we can just move on from that because I don't think we disagree. You're just not listening to me. So we can just define
I'm
explanation,
not listening. What,
but
what,
we can
what
just
did I
use
listen to? What
hello.
is it
I
that
let
I
you
didn't
talk, by the way.
listen
So
to?
let's let me
No,
talk as
no,
well,
no, no,
okay?
no, no, no. I'm not
But
gonna
we
allow
can
this quick
define. Hold
replic.
on, Venus.
No,
We can
no, 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 no,
define.
no, no, no,
Wait,
no, no, no.
let
I'm
me
not gonna
finish
allow this quick
talking.
replic.
Let me
What is it
finish
that I didn't
talking.
understand?
Let me
What
finish
is it that I
talking.
didn't
No,
understand?
I don't feel like explaining it against you, Venus. You're just
No,
not
no, no. I
understanding.
feel like you should explain
I
it
don't
again.
feel like no. I
Then let me know when you feel like explaining it again, okay? When you feel like explaining it again, let me know. No, he started out by saying he's gonna give an art. He started out by saying, actually, no, I'll tell you what he said. So he started out by saying, "Do you have an argument for atheism?" I gave him two. He couldn't
Yeah.
respond to them, and he said, "You know what? Let me give you an argument for theism." He said, "I'm gonna give you Fraser's Aristotelian proof." He couldn't give the argument. He couldn't give the argument. And then I said, look, if you want like an in-depth critique of the argument, look at George Schmidt. But I said, my critique is going to be that he assumes some kind of a PSR. Then he appealed to some paper. He couldn't render that argument either, but then he started giving like examples. And then initially he said, like, imagine two things on a scale. There will be no reason. You accept the PSR in one case, not the other. I said, no, you accept explanations in one case. And you think other things don't have an explanation.
Wait,
Um,
Venus, why don't you like allow like someone that you know to like moderate so you can like be at least like the debater, not the one that's moderating? You know what I mean?
no, but why? But that would assume that I think he's like an interesting interlocutor.
We want to be charitable, bro. Like, so the conversation can progress at least. He said he was going to respond
With
to your
whom?
arguments.
But
And pick
charitable
like,
with whom?
see, the one that you're discussing with right
But
now.
do you think? Wait, do you think he's an interesting interlocutor?
What do you mean interesting, bro? He's like he was at least presenting an argument, I believe. So if he's presenting an argument, I'll at least have you be charitable enough to like respond to it. You know what I mean?
Well, I don't. If you want to vouch for him, I don't mind talking to him further. But he hasn't presented one argument so far. He has been unable to produce an argument. He's only been talking with examples. And when you call him on one thing, he jumps on another thing. And then he misquotes me. He said, I said I accept the PSR. I never said that. He can neither track the conversation correctly. He can't reproduce the arguments. He can't reference things correctly. And he can't
Yeah.
respond to anything he requests. First off, he said, give me arguments for atheism. I gave him two arguments. He couldn't respond to any of them. He jumped to the Aristotelian proof. He couldn't give me the Aristotelian proof. Then he tried to give like a thought experiment. And then he started misquoting me. But I tell you
Okay.
what, I don't mind talking to him, but if you want to vouch for him, that's fine. But
Yeah.
one sec.
I've
Now, no,
discussed.
just look. He said
Yeah.
he gave zero arguments. Did I not give two arguments for atheism?
Like if you 1 second, let me
I was
see.
like, who was here? Sleder, I think, was here. Who else was here? Logicat, you were here as well, right? Didn't I give him two arguments for atheism that he couldn't respond to?
If he doesn't recall it, then like at least like present it
Yeah.
again. I've discussed with C before.
I tell him what. If he concedes that he lied when he said I gave no arguments, I'll let him. I'll talk to him again.
Wait, C there?
Did you give the
Say
problem
what?
of evil like the argument from divine hiddenness or something?
No, I gave the argument from Schaeffer's laser, and I gave the low price
Hmm.
argument.
Yeah. And
Wait,
then like
can
he
you
just
unmute
said,
him
okay,
though?
I'll give you the argument. Like he gave him the arguments, I just didn't respond.
Venus, I can present the argument to you, the Aristotelian argument, because I'm quite familiar with it, and then I'd like to hear your response. Do you want to
No,
do
but
that?
I said, look, I said, I'm not. I'm not like versed on like the Aristotelian or deterministic proofs as much as somebody like Joe Schmidt would be. But I said my issue would be that they all depend on the form of the PSR.
Yeah,
Well,
I can. I
someone-
can respond to that. Do you want me to like present the argument or something like that?
Yeah, I don't mind that, but
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. So for you guys who aren't familiar with the Aristotelian proof, it's just going to say that change occurs in the world, right? Obviously, everyone knows this, right? If I pick up my phone and put it down, it's a change. If I like wave my hand in front of my face, it's a change. We could say that change always involves the actualization of a potential, right? So like my phone was like potentially in the air, and then now it's not in the air, right? Or whatever. And so whatever goes, we could say that whatever goes from potentiality to actuality something can only go from potentiality to actuality by something in actuality, right? Something can't go from potentiality by itself. It needs something in actuality. And so that something in actuality is either itself has potential or it's pure act. And if itself has potential, then we now have a hierarchical causal chain, which either regresses infinitely or terminates in a first member. So that's just going to be the Aristotelian proof. So your response, Venus, would be like it relies on the PSR, right?
That's how I would respond to it. That's correct. Yeah.
Yes, I would obviously respond by saying that it doesn't rely on the PSR, it relies on the principle of causality, which, as I said
But
before,
that
is
principle, no. The principle of causality is a narrow version of the PSR.
right, but it's not like the traditional PSR, which states that like everything has
No,
its
I never
explanation.
said no. I never said that they rely on strong PSR. I said they rely on some form of the PSR.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah.
And that's where the problem. And that's where the problem is going to lie. That's what I said.
Yeah. So yeah, the principle of causality is just going to state that nothing can be reduced from potency to act unless by something in act. So
Sorry, nothing can be what?
nothing can be reduced from potency to act unless by something in act.
Yes, I think there's like two problems besides the PSR here. So
There's two.
besides the PSR, why believe in potency realism? Why believe that there are such things as potentialities?
Well, I think that's just what change is, right? When you think about change,
No. This is the Aristotelian position is a realist position. It's like a heavyweight ontological position that there is such a thing as potentiality that resides in things. Change under inflationary views is just going to be a predicate that applies to one thing at one time that doesn't apply as like a later time. That's all change is going to be. It's not going to be something that resides in the object that then is like causally acted upon or something like that. So one problem is going to be that this view requires realism about potentiality, which is Aristotle's view that there are such things as potentialities, which is not really a very popular view in like among contemporary metaphysicians. And the second question is going to be why. The second question is going to be why wouldn't this principle, even if we bracket the worry, how is this different from the causal principle of the Kalam? It just sounds like something like everything that begins to exist has a cause. In this case, everything that changes has a cause for its change. Why would you accept that principle?
Right. I think it's just going to be a self-evident proof because by definition.
Yeah, but I don't believe in self-evident.
Wait, real quick. By definition, ex nihilo nihil fit. Out of nothing, nothing comes. So you can't if you deny the principle of causality, then you are saying at least it's possible in principle for something to come from nothing.
No. So ex nihilo nihil fit. I think if you translate it to something that makes sense, because nothing is just universal negation. It doesn't make any sense to say something comes from nothing, even grammatically. But if you want to make sense of it, what is going to translate to it? Ex nihilo nihil fit is going to mean something like nothing can begin to exist uncaused. But that's just the causal principle in the Kalam. Everything begins to exist as a cause. But why believe in that principle? So in other words, why believe in ex nihilo nihil fit once you've done the exegetical work of understanding what the principle is actually saying? If you want to say it's self-evident, you're just going to say, well, it's just some kind of an intuition you have or something. But I don't share that intuition. Why would anybody want to accept this principle?
Well, yeah, I think because by definition, the words themselves, like the words themselves, but
No, it's not analytic. It's by no means analytic.
No, but I'm saying that I'm saying that ex nihilo nihil fit. Out of nothing, nothing comes. Something and nothing, by definition, are at least what's the word I'm looking for? At least seemingly contradictory terms. So for something to come from nothing, I think it's just self-evident that that's ex nihilo nihil fit is just going to be self-evident that it's not possible for something to come from nothing, just by the very nature of the phrase.
No. I'm saying like, look, ex nihilo nihil fit. what it means. And actually, Wes Morrison has a paper on this. Once you try to understand what is actually meant and how this was used and what it actually tries to say, it just translates to everything that begins to exist has a cause, which is the very same principle used in the Kalam. It's not that it entails it, it's what it actually means. But that principle is not analytic by any way.
Yep.
And
I
that
don't think
principle is highly controversial.
I don't think it relies on that, because I think you could accept the causal principle without, but deny the Kalam principle, I guess, because you could say that nothing can go something. Well, okay, so you're saying that the Kalam, you're saying that if you accept ex nihilo nihil fata, nothing comes, and you necessarily accept the Kalam principle that everything begins to exist as a cause. Is that what you're trying to claim?
No, look. What I'm saying is ex nihilo nihil fit. 1 second. So Muslims are trying to talk. Look, Yazan, what you brought now is not talking about the age of marriage for like the condition. It's talking about when the father can marry away his daughter. That's like a different thing.
Yeah, and are you aware consummation is different than
No, it's
engagement?
not talking. No, it's not talking about when you can consummate the marriage. It's talking about when the father can marry his daughter. That's like a different thing. There's difference of opinion whether a father can marry his daughter before puberty or not. That's different from when you can
No.
consummate the marriage with the girl. That's like two different topics. What you
Yeah,
brought
the
is on
thing.
the father thing. There's,
Nobody disagrees that you can have an engagement or a tulbah
we're
on
not talking about the
Eid bin.
nikah. We're talking about the consummation. I just said
Yeah,
consummation.
yeah.
Why are
So
you just
according to
slow?
Ibn Taymiyyah,
Nobody's talking
consummation
about.
is not permissible.
Nothing,
Yeah.
nothing you brought from Ibn Taymiyyah is talking about the consummation. It's talking about the father marrying away. According to one opinion, you can't marry away your daughter prior to puberty if she doesn't agree with it.
Oh, okay.
According
So
to
what?
another
So hold on
opinion,
a second.
which by the way is given in Al-Mughni, the same book you quoted, you can marry away her before puberty even if she hates it. That's Ibn Qudama's position. What you
Okay.
brought is about the father marrying her away, not
Okay.
the conditions when you can consummate the marriage, which is physicality according to everybody.
Well, how do you marry somebody away?
If she agrees with it prior to puberty, you can marry her away. This is talking about if she doesn't consent to it. You can't marry her away. According to
Can we
one
lower
opinion,
the
but according to
defensive?
another opinion, which I gave here, like Ibn Abdul Barr, if you look at the quote that I posted, Ibn Abdul Barr says there's actually ijma on the opposite opinion, that you can marry her away without even consulting her prior to puberty. That's Ibn Abdul Barr's position.
Okay.
This is
So
not talking about the condition for consummation. It's talking about the condition for if the father can marry her away or not. A completely different thing. That's why I said this is not talking about what we were talking about. Anyways,
Okay.
back to you, Squiddy. 1 second. I just want to address that because like you were like barking in the chat. Anyways, back to you, Squiddy.
Yeah. Let's run away
Wes
from the argument.
Morrison actually has a paper where he explains this because the problem is grammatically the sentence is not incorrect because nothing is universal negation. So it doesn't make sense to put the preposition from prior to nothing. It doesn't actually make sense to say from nothing. So any way to make sense of it is to cash it out as saying that coming from just means to begin to exist. Coming from nothing doesn't actually make sense unless you just mean uncaused. But then it just translates to beginning to exist uncaused. But that's just the principle used in the Kalam argument. Everything that begins to exist has a cause. But
Okay,
that
so
principle is highly
Bro, what
controversial.
happened, bro? Why is the species active all of a
okay,
sudden?
what would you? So obviously you bring up the many problems that you think the Kalam principle has, right?
Mhm.
At that point.
Sorry, what? No, I'm just saying. What I'm saying is, what it sounds like is either. It sounds like the Aristotelian argument is just saying something like, every change requires. Well, to use the Aristotelian terms, when potentiality, when a potentiality is actualized, it requires an actualizer.
Right.
Or
Yeah. Or change
to
requires
translate it,
change
like
requires a
change
changer.
requires a cause.
Yeah, change requires a changer. Yeah.
Yeah, change. Yeah, but why accept that? That just seems
Well,
clearly false.
Yeah, again, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but yeah, it would just be the ex nihilo nihil fit. But obviously, you say that the sentence.
Venus, can you hear me? Venus, just looking at your DM. I can't talk so much. Just looking at your DM. Just use that.
Okay.
So yeah, no, we already spoke about 65-4 and showed them Tabari saying that it means before
No,
puberty
wait, there's
and it's
more in this. I
adolescent.
think there's stuff in this. I think there's stuff in there which you haven't seen. You just should click on it.
I don't think there's anything about Islam that I haven't seen yet, but I'll look at it into it. But yeah, um, I mean, the print. I mean, like the thing is, like I think this argument is even worse than the Kalam because not only do I think it depends on a similar principle, but this requires realism about potentiality, which the Kalam doesn't. Yeah, do you see the issue?
Yeah, so you brought up two issues. You said the realism about potentiality or potency
Yeah.
act, and then I'm still
And
a little
then it
bit.
just seems to be the same principle that the Kalam depends on.
Well, yeah, they are similar, yeah, basically, because yeah, if you do accept ex nihilo nil fit, then obviously you would accept that everything that begins to exist has a. But like, I'm
but
still.
I just hold the view that ex nihilo nil fit is just the first premise of the Kalam.
Hey,
And
Yeah,
there's
I
a
mean,
paper that shows,
would-
and there's actually a paper that shows that. By
Yeah, I would
Whitmore.
accept
Yeah.
the Kalam principle on the same grounds, namely that nothing, you can't get something from nothing ex nihilo nil fit. But you'd obviously have problems with the Kalam principle, right?
Yeah, but here's the thing: if you say it's self-evident, then I'm just going to ask what self-evidence means. And if you just hold to some kind of foundationalism, and you take it to be some kind of seeming or something, I just don't share that seeming. Like even though I don't agree with foundationalist epistemology, and I don't believe in non-inferential justification, like even bracketing that, I wouldn't just share the seeming with you, even if you do have a seeming, if you want it to be self-evident.
Hey, Current, do you believe this boils down to a debate, a morality debate about what is the age of being able to say yes and
Why
what
is
is
that
the
random
age of...
niggas just jumping in?
I was asking you a question, Current. I hear your argument you're making against this, and I'm wondering, does it boil down to an issue of the age of consent? And when are you old enough to say yes and when are you old enough to say no?
1 second, Hyper, are you there?
Okay, I guess I'm
You
just...
said 1 second, Hyper,
yes, I'm here.
What was he cooking about?
Bruv, he's asking you a question and you're ignoring him.
What was
And
the
you want
question
to
I
me-
ignored?
He asked you a question.
What was the question I
You-
ignored?
you-
I was asking,
you-
are you debating the age of consent? And
No, we're not. What was the question you asked me, Hypush? That I ignored?
You didn't ignore anything. The guy asked about the age of consent, and you just ignored him.
Sorry, which guy asked about the age of consent?
Oh, you have him muted. The
No.
lousy guy.
You said he was cooking. What was he cooking about?
Bruv.
Yeah, you just said you were cooking,
Venus,
not gonna lie.
calm your ego and keep moving forward with the
No,
with the
you said
conversation.
no. You wrote in the text you were cooking, not gonna lie. What was he cooking
Yeah,
about?
a lot of people agree. Can you continue the conversation?
No. 1 second, Yazan. Why are you talking about? I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to the high push guy.
So let's waste 10 minutes. Yalla.
Brother, if you read what I wrote, essentially I said that I left.
No.
And,
I'm talking about this comment. You were cooking, not gonna lie, not gonna lie. Well, what was he cooking about?
Bro, does he have to justify like praising somebody? Like
it
we
does.
got to
Yeah, it
said, like,
does. Yeah, it does. Yeah. What were you
you're
cooking
sick,
about?
bro.
Bro, you're mad, yeah.
There we. I just want to clarify. Like people talk shit.
You're stopping your whole discussion to just reply to my comment and ask me a question.
So what was he cooking about?
He subjectively believes that he was cooking. It doesn't have to be objective.
Yeah, why does he subjectively believe he was cooking?
Because he likes the color of his profile picture.
By the way, how do you objectively believe something? What the fuck does that even mean?
Yeah.
Do you know what subjective means?
No, I don't know. Can you keep on like the conversation?
All right, okay.
I don't have energy to
Yeah. Keep parking in the text.
explain. I'm just
who
delusional. I
was I
believe he's
talking to
cooking.
before I called you out? Who are I talking to? Squiddy. Sorry, Squiddy. What were you saying?
I'm still a little bit confused about because you brought up a few points. You brought up the Aristotelian positions, the realist position, if you assumes the realism about Punsi Nak. And then you brought up like the ex nihilo nil fit, and then you said once you understand what it means, it's the same as saying everything that begins to exist has a cause. Grammatically, the sentence is not incorrect. It doesn't make sense to say.
I said once you translate ex nihilo nil fit in a way where it's going to make grammatical sense, it's just going to be the first premise of the Quran.
Okay, so what's the ultimate point of that? it's just the
the first premise of the Kalam is highly controversial. In the same way that, so the same reason I'm going to reject the PSR. Well, actually, the strong PSR I'm going to reject because it entails necessitarianism. But every other weaker version that doesn't entail the strong version, I'm going to point out that they have what we call a no reason defeater in philosophy, which is that if you don't have a reason to hold a position, then you have an undercutting defeater for holding that position. And she should hold that position.
Okay, so that one more time.
So a no reason defeater is a defeater for a belief in which you have no reason to hold it. So if you believe P, and it's demonstrated to you that you have no reason to hold P, you should stop holding P. That's not to say you should start holding not P, but you should stop holding not P. Because logistic states are not binary. So it's not like if you stop holding P, you're going to hold non-P. But you should cease to hold P. And my criticism of the versions of the PSR don't entail a strong PSR, which entails necessarianism, is that they have a no reason defeater.
Okay. So yeah, regarding your other
sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say regarding your other point. I still think that the principle of causality is going to be a self-evident truth, and
what the problem is, what the thing is, like outside of foundationalism, there's no such thing as a self-evident truth.
Well, I think what I mean is like by the very words used, it's just like an absurd notion for me that
It's not going to be analytic. It's gonna be a synthetic proposition. But then, what does it mean to be self-evident? It's just going to be something like it's intuitive or something. But intuitions are just going to be justified under foundationalism. And some people who are like coherentists or infinitists or Wittgensteinians are not going to accept that type of justification.
Well, how would you define foundationalism?
Well, foundationalism holds that some beliefs are inferentially justified where others are foundationally non-inferentially justified. That's what foundationalism is. So internalists hold that the foundational beliefs are justified by seemings, they're intuitive, while externalists hold to, like, for example, Planting as an externalist, he holds that there's like external reasons why you have warrant for certain beliefs that are the foundations.
To be honest, I think that's kind of like an unavoidable position, right? Because if you have like I think certain beliefs ultimately don't need to be justified. Otherwise, you'd have like for example, the belief in the external world, right? I think that you were prima facie justified in believing that, for example, we were having this conversation until like there's some reason for why it's there's some reason that it's proven false that we are having this conversation. Right?
So the problem with this is going to be twofold. One is I don't accept this epistemology, by the way. I think you're just wrong with that analysis. But even if I granted you that analysis, I'm not going to share your intuition, or I'm not going to find these principles to be self-evident. And that's going to be the block, right?
Okay.
Like, let me give you an example. What if you found somebody who said it's just self-evident that God doesn't exist? What would you say then?
Well, I'd ask for their. I'd probably ask for their. I'd ask for their reasons why, but then you would say that. See, it's not. So you're basically just saying that like self-evident truths can be like arbitrary. Right?
Yeah, I mean that's my point. But I'm saying even if you don't take them to be arbitrary, they're still going to be subjective. Not arbitrary, but subjective insofar as one agent might find a truth to be self-evident that another agent doesn't. But then how does the dialectic progress from that point on?
Okay, but here's the difference. I think the key difference is that in the case of like you're saying God doesn't exist, that's a self-evident truth. I think that's obviously different from something like the principle of causality. And obviously, you're not saying. I understand you're not saying they're the same thing. I understand that, but what I'm saying is that what I'm getting at is like if you say like ex nihilo nihil fit, I think is self-evident by the very terms used. That nothing by definition is contradicts. Or
No, it can't be by definition because then you're claiming it's analytic, but we already agreed it's synthetic. So it can't have anything to do with language, which is not true by definition. It's not true in virtue of meaning. Right. So that's the problem. And by the way, like this is just me being extra. I don't agree that there's for me self-evident truth is just like a dogma. I don't think there's such a thing as self-evident truth or non-justified knowledge or something like that. But I'm saying, like, even if I bracket those, like, I just wouldn't share those intuitions, and neither would people like Graham Oppie or other people who just say, who accept your type of epistemology that you're sympathetic to, but still don't find these things to be self-evident or intuitive.
Well, they're just wrong. No, I'm joking, but
Yeah, and that's why kind of like the problem with all cosmological arguments, whether it's like the Aristotelian proofs, the Thomistic proofs, the Kalam, the Ibn Sina arguments, the Mullah Sadr arguments, like all of them, deep down they share the same kind of like recipe, which is that you have things of two types, and then you have one principle who says things of the first type requires something that's ultimately going to result in the second type. And then the second type is going to be ultimately something that's similar to God. Like all of them is going to share this recipe.
so what are your thoughts on the infinite regress point? Because I know Nyclass spoke with me about your response, and you say that it's possible for like instead of an infinite regress could just be like a brute fact. Like is that like you like?
Yeah, that was like yeah, because that's like Hume's point, because like everything in the set could be explained by a former set and everything will be explained, but then somebody could ask, why is this set initiated as opposed to some other set? But that's just to assume the strong PSR.
Yeah, I would disagree with that though. I think that it would only depend on the principle of causality. I don't think it would rely on the PSR. I think that the PSR could like help prove the principle of causality, but I would disagree with that.
No, it's kind of like this. Look, imagine like a set of everybody giving the ball to the next one. If I ask, why do you have the ball? You're going to say the next guy, because the guy behind me gave me the ball. That's going to kind of explain why you have the ball. And that's going to be true for everybody in the set. So kind of we have an explanation for why every member of the set has the ball. But then somebody could ask, why is there a ball in the set to begin with? And that you can take to be a brute fact, but nevertheless, everything in the set is still going to be explained. What's not going to be explained is why there's a ball in the set. That's the thing that I told Michael. Because this is the point that Aquinas makes. Aquinas says that even if you have an explanation for every member in the set, you're not going to explain why this set abstains rather than some other set. And to give that an example, it's like even if you can explain why every light bulb lights by getting the electricity from the former light bulb, why is there electricity in the set to begin with? But that's just to ask, why does this set obtain rather than some different set? And that's just to ask for a strong PSR.